Welcome to Ha-Shukahit. The Alaska State Museum, established in 1900, is on Tlingit Ani, Tlingit land. The Akwaan people have been here for thousands of years, and we're guests on their land. I hope to be a good guest. It's my pleasure to introduce Sonya Kelliher-Combs. Sonya returns to the Alaska State Museum for the first time since 2001. Her exhibit in our old building was called Idiot Strings Catch and Release. Sonya is a mixed media visual artist whose family hails from the North Slope and interior Alaska. Through visual art, community engagement, curation, and advocacy, Sonya works to create opportunities for Indigenous voices and contemporary artwork that inform and encourage social action. Her mixed media artworks focus on the changing North and our relationship to nature and each other. Traditional women's work has taught her to appreciate the intimacy of intergenerational knowledge and material histories. These experiences and skills have allowed Sonya to examine the connections between Western and Indigenous worlds and to investigate notions of interwoven identity through her work. Personal and cultural symbolism informs the imagery. These symbols speak to history, culture, family, and the life of her people, but they also speak about abuse, marginalization, and the historical and contemporary struggles of Indigenous peoples. Her recent exhibitions include the Arctic Amazon Show at the Power Plant Gallery in Toronto, Canada, Agency, Feminist Art and Power at the Museum of Sonoma County in California, and The Hearts of Our People, Native Women Artists, a multi-venue traveling exhibition originating at the Minneapolis Institute of Art in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Sonya Kelliher-Combs is a United States Artist Fellow, a Native Arts and Cultures Fellow, an Idle York Fellow, a Joan Mitchell Fellow, and a Rasmussen Fellow. Sonya lives and works in Anchorage, Alaska. Welcome, Sonya. We are so delighted to have you here.
Okay, thank you, Ellen, very much for that lovely introduction. It's always kind of uncomfortable when people say stuff about you, I think. It's better behind the doors, I think. But so as Ellen said, my name is Sonya Kelliher-Combs, and I am Alaska Native. I'm a Inupiaq and Athabascan and Irish and German and Danish and Scottish. And since we've done the DNA testing now, we found out we're also probably Scandinavian, so, you know, all that good stuff. I'm sure there's something else in there, too. But I brought notes so I can stay on time so we can answer some questions, and I'm going to put my readers on for that. And in case I forget my name, somebody's labeled my water for me. So, yeah. So I'm going to begin with, usually the way I like to start is by acknowledging the land on which I am tonight. And the Tlingit land, and I'm very thankful for the stewardship of this place, this beautiful, beautiful land. And I'd like to also thank my hosts. It's been a wonderful week here. I think it's been a week, almost a week, 5 days or something. And they are a phenomenal crew, and I'm really happy to have had this opportunity, and super excited about the continuing Verity series, so please come back in May. So. This image is fall time in Nome, outside of Nome, and the beautiful landscape there. Can we turn off one of the lights? Is it possible to turn off this light, or no? A little bit. If not, no worries. It just seems really bright. Yeah, there we go, a little bit. Okay, as I mentioned, I grew up, yeah, that's great, thank you. I grew up in Nome. I was born in Bethel and spent my childhood in this beautiful place. So here we go. I like to show images of where I'm from. I live in Anchorage now, but I still, you know, this is home for me. So growing up, our family, this is the frozen Bering Sea. It doesn't freeze so much anymore like this. This is how it was when we were children. So growing up, our family of 8, along with my grandparents, spent our entire summer at our camp at Snow Gulch. We have a Nomite here, John Walsh, who spent much time at our camp. We won't go into any stories about that right now, maybe later. But yeah, a fellow Irish man. My grandfather was from Ireland. But we spent our time there. We worked, we hunted, gathered food and supplies for the winter. And it was there that I learned to listen to the land, to my grandparents, my parents, and community members, and to nature especially. So as Ellen had said, the intimacy of customary women's work has really informed who I am and why I live in this beautiful, majestic state where the history of my ancestors were. And part of that experience was also harvesting from the land. And all of you pretty much probably know what these images are of. We've got some salmon, some blueberries. We have some muktuk from Bowhead. And then we have the harvesting of a moose. We never take pictures when we hunt, but this was just that picture is from so long ago. That little boy in the green hat, my little brother Brendan, is now 40 years old. So yeah, but there's nothing more beautiful than doing this kind of work, living on the land and doing it with your family and the community. So I like to embarrass my parents. It would be great if they were here. So I know, on the left, that is my dad, Patrick. He is first generation from Ireland. His dad moved and mom moved to Nome shortly after, in 1945, actually, after the war. And his dad had come for the gold rush from Ireland. And then my mom, Trudy Kelliher, is on the right. She was adopted by her aunt and uncle, Alice and Eddie Hildebrand, after her mother, Ruth Summer, died of tuberculosis when she was a baby. Her nickname was Dumplings, and you can tell which one she is because she looks like a cute little dumpling, that one in the front there. And she is wearing boots made by her mom, my grandma Alice there. And imagery is really important, patterns, and so forth. And so I have one of those wonderful, complicated families. When I was young, there weren't very many divorced families, but we were a divorced family, and this is my father, Jim Stotts. I'm fortunate to have both a dad and a father, and he doesn't look like that anymore, but he used to be really super cute. Now his hair is all white, and but I should put a more recent one, but he's Jim Stotts is the oldest of 4 children and is the grandson of Charles and Ossiangatek Brouwer from Barrow, from Utqiagvik. And I'm named after my great-grandmother, Ossiangatek. It's my Inupiaq name. And then on the right side, that's my grandma, Mary Brouwer Stotts Adams. And that is her brother, my great-uncle, Arnold. And I use that shape and form. If you see this show today, if you've been into the galleries, that shape is the shape that I use in much of my work. It's that walrus tusk, kind of husk cocoon shape. And you'll see it here. Flesh Walrus Family Portrait is composed of acrylic polymer, walrus stomach, paper, and thread. It's 4 feet by 4 feet. So signifying generations layered within a paint skin. It is a paint skin. Our walrus tusk forms, similar to a last name, certain patterns adorning Alaska Native garments are linked to families and communities. And for generations, Inupiaq, Inuit, and Inuit families have had and still utilize this pattern on their parkas. So the cocoon-shaped patterns and guarded secrets are based on the same Inupiaq walrus tusk trim design. These designs were placed on either side of the neck in front of one's parka. They were meant to empower the wearer. The shape is metaphorical for a secret, that shape I use there. A secret is by definition something hidden, unspoken, repressed, and kept unknown. Guarded Secrets is a series revealing the protected secret, one shielded from the outside and one fortified from the inside. This series is Common Thread. Common Thread speaks to shared heritage and community, the passing on of generations, traditions, and cultures. A single thread connects these pouch forms, similar but not the same. They remind us of the individuals that make up the whole. which is a very simple idea, but beautiful. We are all very similar. We all share common DNA. We are all connected. And I truly believe that. In this crazy world we live in, we need to remember that. This is idiot strings, the things we carry. This piece is in the collection at Princeton Museum, and this installation was at Svalbard, which is an island up near Greenland, a part of Norway. So many of you probably already read this in the exhibition, but the idiot strings originated as a memorial to the loss of 3 uncles who tragically took their own lives. 3 men who suffered from the experience of boarding school, the Vietnam War, and the abuse of the clergy. Idiot strings are tethers that hold one's mittens. And my sister made me some mittens a couple years ago, and I still use idiot strings. I mean, she puts them on. I mean, she knows I'm going to lose them anyway, but it's a good idea. So these works draw attention to the staggering elevated rates of suicide amongst Alaska Native and Native American peoples. In our state, Alaska Natives are 3 times more likely to take their life than the rest of our state. So, in both material and form, these pouches and ties evoke the body and suggest its absence. Casting overlapping shadows through line and movement demonstrate that one loss touches many. We must all remember those who we've lost and continue to heal from the historical traumas of colonization. I gotta take a sip of this water that's mine. Here. So I've been making these idiot strings for a long time. I started them in, I think, 2005, 2006. I've made 6 sets of these idiot strings, all addressing things from like veteran suicide rates, credible is the abuse of the clergy. Some are specific to individuals that I know who have taken their life. So black and white, this is an installation at the Anchorage Museum, is a comment on our new subsistence. As a child, I grew up always knowing that the land would provide. New ideas about what that means abound. The imagery is inspired by muktuk, the combination of whale blubber and skin, a common food for Inuit people. The stitched synthetic skin is adorned with glass trade beads and human hair. The kupuks, or patterns, are from Inupiaq parka trim. Each muktuk strip is hung over a glass containing a jar filled with used motor oil. 3 generations of Alaskans have worked on the North Slope of Alaska, extracting oil to feed and house their families. We live in a paradoxical world relying on both the Western economic model through an indigenous worldview. It is not black and white. A new subsistence exists, our dependence on the extraction of oil. And these are some of those jars which many of us, store food in for the winter, whether it be salmon or berries, etc. So Blue Cord Blue Aeon is from the exhibition Plastic Gyre. This began with an expedition to collect garbage on the coasts of Alaska. Growing up in rural Alaska with Alaska Native values, it is an unspoken truth. You take care of all that you harvest. You respect and honor what provides for you, your family, and community, and you take care of each other. Today, I wonder what has gone so wrong that our shores are filling with the waste of others. Alaska Natives are innovative people, recycling discarded items, sharing used materials, never throwing something away that might be needed by another. I think this is wonderful and beautiful. It was a good way to grow up, and I'm proud of being from a place that takes care of its own. This is along the same kind of lines I'm speaking. This is a series called Remnant. Remnant is a series meant to comment on the threatened state of our land, the natural environment of Alaska, a location where the folly of our human-centric approach to industry is achingly clear. Within these works, the viewer is surrounded by fragments and scraps of the world of the North, bits and pieces of animal hide, hair, clothing, and other detritus, submerged in synthetic media like so many specimens from a way of life that no longer exists. Remnant invites the viewer into a dialogue that exposes the tenuousness of our own existence. And so this first set of remnants were at Site Santa Fe Sightlines in 2016. And this is a detail of some of those, some of those works. It's a remnant seal intestine and remnant moose antler. Okay, red curl 2. So you can see a little bit of a trend here. I use a lot of synthetic media with natural media. And red curl 2 is a wall installation comprised of repeating sculptures. And they're made from a combination of synthetic and natural materials. This form mimics strips of cold drying sockeye salmon. The shape is loosely based on the pattern of an Inupiaq parka sleeve. And like the repetitive tasks of working on the land, the process of producing art is intimate and meditative. Red curl is open-ended, allowing the spirit of the fish to return for future harvest. Use of repetitive form is common in my work. Each individual is a part of the whole, metaphorical for our relationship to each other and the natural world. I feel like I'm talking really fast. Am I doing okay? Okay. So this is a series called Mark, and I work in many different series. I'm just showing you like one or two of each piece of this series. So Mark, seal, caribou, muskox, beaver, and polar bear is a series commenting on both the endangered state of the natural world of Alaska and beyond. A mark is a symbol used for identification or indication of ownership. A mark is a visible impression or trace on something as a line, a cut, a dent, a stain, or bruise. It is a badge, a brand, or other visible sign assumed or imposed. And lastly, it is a sign, banner, and dividing line. This body of work is a commentary on Western culture's need for consumption and control, often at odds with the value system of indigenous perspectives. It's also a commentary on our borders and how our indigenous people have relatives on each side, and how difficult it is. Just an example would be, a really good example would be Siberia and our relatives across the Bering Strait. So here's another example of Mark. This is Mark, polar bear, and walrus. This is in the collection of the Anchorage Museum. So this is a series that is now currently in the museum. This is Credible. So Credible is a series addressing the overwhelming abuse of the Catholic Church in our state. It continues the series I've been exploring since 2007, and these paintings represent the 35 villages that have credible claims of abuse by the hands of those that were sent to save them. I think most of you have probably seen the exhibition, so I won't elaborate much more than that, but here's an example of one of those. This is Credible Holy Cross. It has the population of Holy Cross and all the people who were perpetrators within their community from 1930 to 1971. This is Credible Small Secrets, and you guys have a version of this hanging out there, which is, it's Credible Small Secrets, but it includes other small secrets that represent the rest of the 355 communities we have in Alaska. And this is Credible Idiot Strings being installed at the Mattress Factory, which is this amazing museum in Pittsburgh. And that is the first place that this piece was shown, and it's now here. Let's see. and this is Small Secrets, Sheldon Jackson. So I don't usually do invitational shows that have a theme, but I was invited by the Union College in Schenectady in New York before COVID to respond to an archive that they have, archive collection. They have a bunch of his correspondence at that, because he went to school there. So then COVID happened, and then I had to do it virtually, which was not my favorite thing. But so looking at through the computer, I spent a lot of time looking at his correspondence, and I knew what I was looking for, and it took me a long time to find it, but I finally found it because I knew that he was one of the people who was instrumental in procuring Alaska Natives to go to Carlisle Indian School. And so this is the correspondence in this piece of that transaction. It was a transaction. So Sheldon Jackson is often considered the kind of, in a way, the godfather of our education system in Alaska. And as an Alaska Native who had parents who met in boarding school and went to boarding school, my mom went to a boarding school, Pius Mission in Skagway, at the age of 4 because her mom had TB, and because they didn't know what else to do with her, so she went with her siblings, her older siblings, to school, and didn't really go to school, but just stayed there with her family. But I'm still thinking about this work, so I don't have that much to say about it. I just think, there's a lot of history that we need to think about, and a lot of things that we need to address, and we need to tell the truth of these people who a lot of times are glorified in our history. So making art is just one facet of what I do. I also curate, I volunteer, I make utilitarian objects. There's a lovely woman who came to the opening tonight with my earrings on by accident. She didn't even realize, which was fantastic. And I also love to mentor. Sometimes I teach. All of that keeps me busy, and it's really important to my practice. And also, something that's really important is to help elevate the voices of other Indigenous artists and other artists, women artists. So in 2007, I was invited to curate in the Points of View series at the Anchorage Museum, and my intention was to address issues that are close to my heart. And in working on this exhibition, it became clear that with the items I selected and the way that I installed them, that they might speak softly about history, culture, family, and the life of our people, but collectively they could speak loudly about the abuse, marginalization, commodification, and struggles of our people. My goal with this exhibition, it was the first one of these I've done, was to present a conceptual installation that was unconventional, a personal exploration of the transformative power of these objects, of these utilitarian objects. So in the foreground, you see that piece is called Forgive You, Father, for You Have Sinned. And we will have something similar in the May exhibition, doing kind of an unconventional installation of historical objects to create a conceptual commentary with these objects. So Goodbye is a memorial to those who have lost their lives to suicide, and it is deeply and personal. Wounding experiences affected nearly every person we know. Within this installation are 38 pairs of gloves and mittens representing those Alaska Natives who died by their own hands in 2005. That was the most recent number I could get at the time. And these are all objects that are in the Anchorage Museum collection. And something that's also important is to have access to these objects, for our people to have access. And some of these objects had never, ever been out on display. So that's also very important, and why I'm so excited to be working here at the State Museum to do some of this work. Out of the Box is a multi-artist performance with 15 Alaska Native participants. I was asked to do something. It's important for me to create opportunity for other artists. So I invited all these artists. And the series was at the Anchorage Museum. And this right here is the artist Sarah Whalen. You can see the other artists' names up there too. She did a beautiful piece. Viewers became participants when Sarah Whalen confronted the secrecy and shame that enshrouds domestic violence. By inviting passerbys to write their own personal stories on her box, the words were then cut out and placed inside and above the work until the box is opened up, because the more we share, the more the box disappears. And then she also had a ceremony, and they burned all of these. It was super powerful. Other programs I support and participate in often deal with passing on Indigenous knowledge, mentoring, and sharing. This is a material traditions gut workshop put on by the Smithsonian Arctic Studies Center. It was held at the Anchorage Museum. They do really beautiful work. They have wonderful videos if anyone's interested in traditional knowledge, historical, customary work, endangered arts. So that's the Smithsonian Arctic Studies Center. And I was one of 3 master artists who taught this endangered art form to youth, college students, and other artists. And in this picture is Elaine Kingikuk from St. Lawrence Island. And the next one shows on your left, that's Mary Tanuchuk. And then Anna Gallagher, who is the elder who taught me how to process marine mammal intestine and walrus stomach from back home. I have continued to find inspiration in the objects and lifeways of our ancestors, and studying these collections provides invaluable insight. I was honored to be awarded a National Museum of the American Indian Fellowship, in which I was able to, Artist Leadership Award, in which I was able to study at the Sheldon Jackson Museum alongside fellow artist Art Umatuk from Point Hope, along with Nadia Jakinski-Setti, who used to be running that museum, or was a curator of that museum. Yes, curator. The funding allowed me to share these opportunity with high school students and fellow, right there, and fellow artists in Anchorage at the Smithsonian Arctic Studies Center. Access to our material culture is paramount. And this access personally has impacted me significantly to be able to create the work that I do, and helping empower other artists and facilitate opportunities is super important. And then I did a series called Curated Conversations at the Anchorage Museum. I did that for 2 years. They focused on issues important to the contemporary and future circumpolar North, and in particular that of Indigenous people. They kind of wanted it to not just be Indigenous people, but since they selected me, I said, it will be what I want. So this image is from our 3rd conversation, Culture of Commodity, Commodity of Culture, and included our moderator, Candace Hopkins, artist advocate and former dean of the Institute of American Indian Arts, Charlene Teeters, Greenlandic performance artist Yessie Kleeman, and Alaska Native artist Nicholas Galanin, who now is literally a rock star and is like seriously like off. Yeah, you got to book him like 10 years. But so in the face of globalization, culture has become an object of consumption through channels such as tourism, advertising, and collecting practices. And there was many different topics that we discussed. This is just one of them. Other ones were borders and boundaries, food security, Indigenous representation, and exhibiting culture. And the culmination of these conversations, which took place in Alaska, New Mexico, New York, and Norway, was the exhibition Without Boundaries. It opened in Anchorage, traveled to rural Alaska and Santa Fe, and I'm so thankful to have had this opportunity to share subjects important and also to celebrate artists whom I think are some of the best in the world, each doing such important work in their communities and elevating ideas about what it means to be an Indigenous artist. And that's James Luna on the top there, and he's passed now, and so is Shan Goshorn, two really amazing artists that I had the opportunity to work with. He's like the godfather of Native American performance art. If you don't know who he is, you should definitely check him out. He'll give you a good chuckle. Okay. Then I had to show some pictures of back home. So this is me hanging up some fish at our fish camp in Kasilof. And I'm really fortunate to, you know, pretty much from the end of June till middle of August, I don't go anywhere unless it's really, 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 really special. So this is my studio. At the beginning of, right before the first snow. And it's got that old tin that was on our cabin that you saw earlier. It's recycled tin from a cannery in Kodiak, actually. And this is my family. Sean Combs, but not Puff Daddy. And so we're doing an installation of ice. It's called the Freeze Project years ago. And that's Bo on the bottom and Sura and pepperoncini on the top. Yep. So that's it. That was really fast. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, you guys. You're very patient with my little blubberings. Thank you, Helen.
If you've got some questions for Sonya, you could step up to the microphone as people have curiosities about her work and her life.
I know. Good morning. Yeah, don't be shy if you guys have any kinds of questions. Sometimes I think my subject matter scares people away, but if, like, even technical questions or material questions or anything.
Hi, you're a rock star of Alaska, just like Nicholas. How do you stay healthy and sane when you're dealing with so much trauma and historical pain?
That's a really good question. You know, my career as an artist is like, it's not like I know a lot of artists who work 9 to 5 like every day, and I don't work like that. Like, I work when I'm in that space to be able to create that work, and then I have to do other things that take care of me, like fishing and berry picking and spending time with family and friends. So I have to, like, I know that about myself, that I can't go down that rabbit hole, you know, so when I'm feeling that way, I have to pull away. So that's a really good question, though, because it is true. It's so true. You could really get just stuck in there, and it's hard to pull yourself out. Yeah. I have 3, well, one of our dogs passed away, but the dogs really do help, I have to tell you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is Ellen, by the way, if you guys, yeah. We love her. I wanted to also thank the crew, too. I went really quickly, and I was like, I wanted to thank the crew, and yeah, because you guys have been so fantastic, and Jackie, and Erin, and Addison, and Amy. So thank you very much. They have great people here.
So Sonya, we've kind of bonded over a fascination with the material of gut and organ tissues used in art, and you're one of the very few people who have consistently been using gut in your work, and I just wanted to know if you would say something about the material and why it's special to you.
Yeah, sure. I didn't talk anything about going off to grad school, which is like, I could talk about that for a while, but you know, when I went off to grad school, I went to Arizona State. I don't know what I was thinking, but I went there. I wanted someplace really diverse, you know, really diverse. And apparently all the diversity was on the West campus, which was not where I was, but they didn't tell me that in the beginning. It was really difficult. And so, like, after my first year, it's a 3-year program, I brought a bunch of objects from home and hung them in my studio and just spent time, because I needed that. I needed that because it was really difficult. And I brought, one of the things I did bring was a walrus stomach. And it was so beautiful. Like, and it's just so beautiful. I mean, if you've ever, you see the gut parkas out there, it's got its own light, and you know, it's alive. It's a living material. I really feel that. So I was trying to emulate that, and that's how I started, you know, my, you know, obsession with gut. And then, you know, I was like, I couldn't get enough of it. So, like, if people were going hunting, I'd be like, if you don't want your stomach, yeah, right here, you know. My brother-in-law found my first seal intestine was a wash-up. It was a seal that was pretty fresh on the beach, and we went down there and got it because I just wanted to learn, and thank God for, I contacted the Pollocks who lived behind us, and Grace was like, no, talk to the St. Lawrence Island people. So Anna Gallagher was amazing, but it's just this really a beautiful, amazing material, and I just love it so much. And I love that, you know, it was used to store food, to keep you warm and dry, but it was still breathable. Window coverings, you know, it's just like this really, you know, amazing work that had this content that I was interested in. So, and then marrying that with plastic, which is gel medium, which is the other main material that I use, which is the opposite of gut. You're gonna suffocate in that shit, you know, it's like there's no, so yeah, I just love it so much, yeah. Is that enough?
Well, I'm obsessed with gut.
I know. You can, I know, it's like, and when I'm starting to get low on it, I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? Because a lot of people, it is an endangered art form. It truly is. You know, there aren't that many people doing it. So, as a matter of fact, in May, Sven Hawkinson will be doing a bear gut demonstration, like May 6th and 7th. So that's a good time to be in town. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. It'll be at the opening of the next set of Visceral exhibitions. Yes. Ah, I like it. Do it. You just stay up there.
You name names in those pieces.
Yeah.
How did you steel yourself up for that? I mean, in particular, you know, Sheldon Jackson's kind of a big name.
I hope are you his grandson or?
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, I went to fine arts.
Just kidding. Yeah. We need to change that name, but yeah, we're working on that. We're working on that.
Can you talk about your process to like getting to that point where you put those names down and said, these are the people that raped our communities?
Mm-hmm. So like, I'm so thankful for Kyle Hopkins. Thank you for, because I didn't mention him, but I did. It's written like he's that investigative reporter who was able to uncover information that I've been looking for forever from Jesuits West and you know, from these other places. And he did that expose on the Catholic Church. Now the stuff for Sheldon Jackson, when I contacted the people down there, they're like, I don't know anything about this, and I'm like, well, you should. You know, or they contacted me because they heard about my piece. And I was Googling it. I'm like, it's right here, you know. You should know what color his underwear were. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. I mean, I really do. But I think it's taken me 20 years since I was here last time, you know, to be able to say those things. It's not easy. It's not easy. And probably it's not popular too, so, you know, but oh well. I'm getting older. It's okay. Uh-oh, here comes Sheldon Jackson's granddaughter. No, I'm just kidding. That's going to be the joke. Oh, I'm sorry. That's going to be the new joke.
No, but thank you for the earrings.
Oh, there you are.
So one of the things that I think of when I've seen your work, which I've seen since I think about 2006, is that it's very three-dimensional. Mm-hmm. What really struck me about, I need to stay away from this. What really struck me about Credible was how two-dimensional it was, and I'm really curious to hear about what type of paint you used, where you source the maps, and
it likes you.
Just more details about that.
Sure.
Very powerful, and I appreciated that.
Sure, you bet. So at APU, there used to be the USGS building in Anchorage. Oh my God, I love that place. I used to go there and get maps all the time. And you could go through all the drawers and find all these really cool maps from, you know, there's like a million of Nome, which I got because that's where I'm from, right? And had to give them to everybody. But now it's online. It's USGS. So it's in the public domain. So you can use those. And I put them, it took me forever. I hate the computer. I didn't say that, but I really don't like it. But so I put them on a jump drive and I went and had them printed. Yeah, and it was expensive, but they did a great job. So that's that part. The rest of it is gel medium, my own personal hair, and just some carving and drilling and all that fun stuff. So, yeah. I like this. The material, the gel medium, in a lot of ways, it moves like skin or something natural. Like I've done pieces where I hang them and they stretch and they become like a hide. They have weight and they move because they're plastic. And so sometimes, you know, like I love that part about it. But I was doing that with the map ones, but it wasn't working out so good. And I was like, there's something about that structure of like stretching it onto a frame that is confined and it has that kind of content that I'm interested in, you know. So yeah, that's what they are. The first set I've done, you know, I work in multiples and I do multiple sets. They're all different. So like the idiot strings, different colors, different number, different demographic. But the first set of Credible are in the Denver Art Museum collection. They bought them from a show I had in New York, but so it's a little bit different. I used a lot of thread in that one. Yeah. So anyhow, yeah. Thanks. But they are flat. They are flat. But I do stretched ones that are kind of flat, but usually things are coming off of them and stuff. They become more objects. Yes. Yeah. I haven't really thought about that. I have to think about that a little bit. Yeah. Uh-oh, here comes the guy from Nome. Who's that guy? Who's that guy?
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Welcome to our lovely town, our other lovely town. I just want to say thank you, Sonya, from Don and I. You reminded me a photo of your cabin on Snow Gulch is where I proposed to my wife.
Oh,
in front of a whole lot of people. So
I didn't know
that.
Was
a long time ago. And our families go back. I mean, Morris Kelliher, Mike Walsh. I mean, they could talk Gaelic or Irish in Nome, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So we were kids and just did other things until we were told we were misbehaving. But thank you so much. There's so much, not to unpack, but to listen for, remind ourselves of how guilty we are in not being as brave as you. So we have work to do, and thank you for that. That's
thank you, John.
The mediums are, you know, because you've now, there's a biologic within an impervious, so that fascinates me. That it's there, but it's not there. Is that, you know, as we go forward in time, because the ice in front of town is now water, and it should be ice, and where's the seal because he doesn't have ice? So thank you for that. That's real. The people, the connections, the hair, the biologic, that's like, oh, there's a spirit in that molecule, and it can't go anywhere because of the rest of what you're bringing forward, and that's hugely important. So kind of our unearthing, and yet, you know, just bringing that into our world, because like my world is tracking words on pages and legislative stuff. So that's almost kind of a really neat luxury, but it's not just fanciful. This is heavy stuff that you're bringing, and so that's, you know, those are strong shoulders and clear thoughts and meditation. And that's pretty cool. And I saw the pictures of the kids
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing, all of those eyes were, you had their attention.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly arts in school is just so important.
Yeah.
Because that person now is able to dream and follow through and actually use their hands and their brains and mediums and whatnot. So I just want to say thanks and welcome, and we'll see you again in May.
Yeah, for sure.
Always have a place to stay.
I'm going to take you up on that,
To your mom and dad.
Don.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. Yeah, my grandparents were his younger brother's godparents. But when he turned 18, I think Grandma said, "That's the last check I have to write." So funny. And yes, they were all altar boys together. I was like, yeah, exactly. But thank you, John.
But can I just add?
Sure.
On that note, our house is across the street.
Yeah.
So we were sort of safe.
Mm-hmm.
We had
Right across the street. Exactly.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids,
It wasn't. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, where were they when they should have been?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And your dad was right there.
Yes,
Exactly.
else left us alone.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, everybody. If you're too shy to go up there, you can come up and ask me on the side, huh? Are we doing okay? Yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.